around and disregard it. Sweep you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started, it's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Sweep you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, and this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle, otherwise known as the hardest part of the ring. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you. Take a seat, take your shoes off, take your socks off, spread those little toesies, and wiggle those little piggies back and forth, because we got a good old show for you today. I don't know that's what I do when I'm excited for something, is that. Ring of Honor, beating the odds. 2003. My goodness, what a wrestling, what an event this was. It was absolutely it was an interesting show, to say the least. First of all, I mean, I gotta mention this because I don't think I've really touched on it since. Jay Briscoe, first of all, I mean, I know this is like way, after the fact, but much love to Jay Briscoe and his family, but I bring him up front because it's just very interesting. I don't want to say it's fortunate timing, because nothing's fortunate about what happened, but just in the timing of where we're at in this timeline, I think this is really where the Briscoes start to really become the Briscoes. I mean, they've had a lot of awesome matches already at this point, both with each other and as a tag team. But I'll just say this. The title of the show, Beating the Odds, is related to the Briscoes, and we'll get into the podcast and what happens and all that. But really good stuff, but from both Mark and Jay as singles guys at this point. And we're about to enter a really, really fun stretch with those guys. So stay tuned for that, because there's some really fun stuff coming up, Briscoe related. And makes me happy to kind of go back and watch, especially, with recent events. It makes my heart happy to go back and see the Briscoes and just like the beginning of their legendary run in Ring of Honor. So, but besides that, we got some Field of Honor matches, which is the round robin tournament that they've established, which I think has pure title implications. I'm not sure. I try to stay in the dark in terms of like future stuff, to stay relatively spoil free, other than what I already know. But I'm pretty sure it has pure title implications, but we'll get into that as well. We got Homicide versus Trent Acid, which, I mean, the match is good, but the shenanigans leading up to it, hilarious. Just the most 2003, just slurs, just baggy pants, just utter debauchery between those guys, between Homicide's crew and the Backseat Boys. We got Special K, of course, Slick Wagner Brown, all the things you love to be a part of in terms of Ring of Honor, of course. But this show might be most notable for the main event, which is what I thought was the culmination of the CM Punk and Raven feud. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. We'll have to wait and see. But it's a Clockwork Orange House of Fun steel cage match between CM Punk and Raven. I've heard a lot about this match, and maybe I just wasn't listening when people tell me about it, because I was expecting this to be awesome. Spoiler alert, It was not. It is very like there's certain production notes about it that make it very interesting, and it's all because like this feud is so legendary. And I mean, I guess for the time, it's still by far the most significant feud for Ring of Honor. It has a Raven, who's a big name and all that, and CM Punk, who's an upcoming guy. But like, man, some of this shit just isn't good. It's weird to say, but like, man, I mean, I don't want to step on the toes of what we talk about in the podcast, but disappointing to say the least. But we'll get into that. And who's beating my odds on this one? None other than Brett from the Brainbuster Boys podcast, returning to the show. Always a good time with Brett. Awesome guy, hilarious podcast. Him and his co-host Bo, they get into a lot of current stuff on their podcast, which, by the way, the Brainbuster Boys, you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. All his info in the description below, at Brainbuster Boys on Twitter and all that. So great follow on social media. But the podcast is awesome too. They get into current events, but they also dive into like Japanese wrestling. They have their offshoot podcast with the Phoenix Splash. Brett does on the Visionaries Network. So like, again, all this info will be in the description below. But they get into some retro stuff, some current stuff, some indie stuff, some mainstream stuff. They got a good collection. They got a good variety on their podcast, and it's always really entertaining. So go check it out, the Brainbuster Boys podcast. And hey, while you're here listening or watching, by the way, to the Apron Bump podcast, first of all, get the video a like if you're watching on YouTube. I'll wait. No, like seriously, do it. Take your hand out of your pants. Okay, there we go. Thanks, Roger. But if you like Ring of Honor, you love this old school. I mean, Ring of Honor is really making a comeback with their new TV show on Honor Club and all of the Ring of Honor pay-per-views that have been happening recently. A lot of Ring of Honor alumni all over the wrestling scene today. If you want to hear about more Ring of Honor, their early days, their birth, and their growing pains and some of the classic matches that they put on in the early years, go to apronbump.com and you can go to the episodes tab and you can filter to all the promotions, all the eras that I cover. You can filter down to whichever one you'd like to listen to. You can click on Ring of Honor and that'll bring you to all of the Ring of Honor shows that I've covered, starting from the very first one up until now, approaching mid to late 2003. So binge away. It's been a fun ride, and it continues on here with a lovely wrestling program. So with that, I think we should just get right to it, baby. Ring of Honor, Beating the Odds 2003, with myself and Brett's from the Brainbuster Boys podcast.
Well, hopefully, remember we had like some slight issues with this last time, but hopefully we're okay.
Did we? Was there like an echo or something?
Yeah, something like that. Do I sound okay to you?
You sound beautiful. As beautiful as you look.
Fuck, you look great, Wheeler.
Thanks.
Dude, that geeked. I mean, obviously, I was pretty drunk that night, just having a fucking ball.
I got so hammered for no reason.
Yeah, that's how we used to do those like pretty frequently, like last year with groups like that, and we would just get shit-faced and stay up till 2 a.m. and we're gonna try and bring it back. I think it's gonna go as Tim King After Dark.
Hey man, I'm all about it. Just being hungover on a Sunday for no reason, just bullshitting.
He can definitely pull a crowd, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Because I had just hit him up. I had finished that New Japan show, was drunk, high, feeling good, had worked all day. And I'm like, dude, I miss you. Just saw this show. We need to record soon. He's like, I'm live right now. I'm like,
say no more.
Yeah, I'll be there. And I drank, I think, 11 beers at my house then.
Really?
Started at like 5:30, but still.
Yeah. Dude, I was stone sober when I started. And then I drank because I was pouring Jack and Cokes, but I was pouring them pretty heavy. I was getting a little liberal with them. And then got a little loosey-goosey there towards the end. But
what geeked me out on the clip that Tim posted of us slapping our chests was when you bumped your microphone. I don't know why, but that was like the funniest part to me. And just like your face, you were just like...
the genuine fear.
Yeah.
Like we're just talking. I like forget there's a thing in front of me that I'm talking into. Just a fucking gorilla in a china shop or whatever the saying is. Trent Acid over here, but
man,
yeah.
Little did I know he would be such a factor of this show. I just saw his name on the card, and I'm like, that's my guy, Trent Acid, baby.
You a big Trent Acid guy?
I think I am now. Yeah, rest in peace. But
yeah, you just learned that, so it's been a hard week for you.
I mean,
guess,
I did not even know who Trent Acid was before you showed me the card. But yeah,
really.
Go through, see the work, which was good work, I thought, and then to learn that he is no longer with us. But thanks for all you did, Trent.
It was always like a name that I had heard of, but I didn't really know who he was or like what his deal was. But going back and watching all these shows, he's there quite a bit. So he's good, man. He's in probably one of the better shows of this show, I thought.
I quite enjoyed it. Yeah, I was curious what some of these early Ring of Honor shows would be like, but it was 2003, that's for sure.
Is this like the first of this era that you've watched?
A full show, absolutely. I mean, I've certainly seen matches. Like, I've seen that triple threat from the first show with, what is it, Low Key, Daniels, and Danielson, and, handful of others from these early times. But yeah, definitely. I haven't seen a lot of Ring of Honor full shows, if I'm being honest. Because, one, I don't have Honor Club. Didn't know about this Billy hack. Does that have everything?
As far as I know,
and it's not. It's just like a fucking playlist too. That's beautiful.
By year. Yeah. It's in order. I mean, because Honor Club even. I mean, I haven't checked it in a while. I guess I haven't checked it since Tony Khan bought it, so maybe it's changed. But before, it didn't have like the old stuff. It had like a few select matches.
It was missing stuff, a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Like literally, I would buy the DVDs if they were available, but you have to like wait 3 months from China for a fucking VHS that may or may not work. So
fucking
it's like
RF video.
God, so much for that.
That creep.
Fucking Rob Feinstein. He's pretty prevalent on this show, too.
Which, again, I had to ask you, hey, who was that guy Homicide was calling boss in the back? And he's just, like, eating grub. He's just grubbing back there.
Meatballs,
Yeah, with his frosted tips. I mean, I was getting a kick out of it. And, again, when you mentioned the name, I'm like, yeah, okay, I know. And then you said about the chat room stuff, and I thought you were talking about Trent Acid. I'm like, what the fuck? And that's when I learned that Trent Acid was dead. And so it was like a very strange few minutes for me.
You thought Trent Acid was a dead pedophile for a couple minutes.
Our wires got crossed over DM, and I thought Trent Acid was a dead pedophile. But
just dead.
And Rob Feinstein was just a clean wrestling promoter who's done no wrong.
By the books, just giving these guys an opportunity.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
Frosted
you love to see
tips, it. Yeah. So are we? Is this part of the show?
Oh, I hit record. I mean, I don't know. We're just talking. But are you drinking a C4?
It's Ghost, actually.
Oh, I was like, is this man about to get a pump?
But I would. So funny enough, I think I drank one.
Well, you got some in the background.
Well, yes, exactly. So my roommate works for a company that does all the shelving for every Kroger store in the nation.
Yeah, I think we did talk about this last time.
Yeah. And
didn't he get promoted from chips or something?
Yes, he was on chips. So we got, during COVID, got all sorts of chips all the time, and now it's energy drinks. So that is funny. I didn't even notice those in the back. Because I'll drink an energy drink often when I'm doing these, because why not?
Right.
I
always do.
Yeah. So, but Ghost, I've learned, is my favorite, not only in taste, but also just the effect. Like, I feel like it actually gives me the most energy. So,
is that a pre-workout technically?
I
Ghost?
Don't think so.
I think they have protein powder, unless it's just a different Ghost.
This has got 200 milligrams of natural caffeine, 100 milligrams neurofactor, 1,000 milligrams of carnapure carotene, 150 of alpha GPC 50%, and 100% of 4 daily vitamins. We should get sponsored by Ghost.
I mean, if we're not by now, I don't know what else I gotta do.
It's a great product.
Hit me up, Ghost. Boo, Casper and all that shit. But speaking of ghosts, there's a few of them on the show, I guess.
Yeah.
Beating the odds. So you're coming into this kind of cold. Yeah, you haven't really seen much from this era. Did this show, overall, did it meet your expectations? What'd you think about it?
Yeah, I would say so. I wouldn't say it, exceeded them. I didn't really have super big expectations, but looking at the card, I'm like, yeah, this looks pretty solid, I think I told you, like, there's a bunch of names I didn't know. Or you got a guy like Hydro and you realize that's Jay Lethal and he's with all the drug addicts. Like, that was bizarre. But no, I really enjoyed this. An interesting note, I don't know if you realize, but the main event between Raven and CM Punk was initially 31 minutes. In the edit, it's what we saw. It's only like 12 minutes.
Really? The edit? I didn't notice the edit.
Yeah, so I looked on Cage Match at the card ahead of time and saw it was 31 minutes, and that's why I was finishing the show last night. I'm like, I don't have a 30-plus minute match in me. I'm going to go to bed without looking at the time on the show, and then I wake up and there's like 18 minutes left in the show. I'm like, what the fuck? So watched it and then looked up that, I guess the match was like very boring and slow, and Ring of Honor, and even in the initial DVD release, this was the edit that got in. So anytime they cut
the Billy's pulled right from the DVD or
correct,
whatever.
Yeah. So it's not a Billy. This was a Ring of Honor decision, and every time they cut to Colt Cabana on the outside was when they did the edit.
Oh,
so
I read. Not that you mentioned that, it was weird that they just ran it because he didn't really factor into the match. I don't think.
Except he threw the chair in at one point, but
right. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on that one because that was the main event. That was what this whole show was really based on, or leading up to, and it was kind of. To me, it felt rushed, but I guess if it was edited, maybe that just made the pace
that's kind of what I felt too. Because again, thinking or knowing that it was 31 minutes, but then also knowing I'm about to watch an abridged version of that match, so I knew that going in, which was so it made for a very interesting viewing experience. But it was something.
So Raven didn't kill Punk though.
No, which is I did love that. And then it cut to in the middle of a match later, cut away
for no reason
for Raven to say he's gonna kill him. So that
tonight, I am going to kill you.
It's an evergreen. It's an evergreen.
So
clip.
Genuine, so genuine. Like that is not like wrestling gimmick. I'm gonna kill. I am going to kill you.
No, you because you DM'd me that. You were like, because you watched it before I did, and you were like, Raven said he's going to kill Punk. I was like, oh, Raven probably has this really eloquent promo where he refers to killing him, but he implies it, but doesn't actually say it. But it's just really him. Hey, I'm going to kill you. You're going to be dead after this match.
That's how they start the show. I think it was CM Punk and Colt Cabana did a promo first, and then Raven, I'm going to kill you, and all right, we're off and running.
Well, what do you think about the vibe of the promos from this? Because they're all just done in hallways. You know what I mean?
Very cheap, but I liked it. We talked about the whole show felt very 2003 with the frosted tips, the rampant slurs, just everything. It felt like a different period of time, which it was, and that was very. I don't even have a word for it, but that was all part of it.
No, it was because my wife was on the couch when I turned this on, and it starts with this, and she's like, "Is this a fucking hostage video that we're watching?" Because it was very loud. It was like a loud whisper. I don't know how to explain it, but it was Punk and Cabana. That's how the show opens, and Punk's basically recapping their feud.
Yep.
So Raven came into Ring of Honor. And Punk, this all started with Punk didn't think Raven belonged there because Raven was a character, not a real wrestler, which is the pure wrestling aspect is what Ring of Honor is really leaning on at this point.
Yep.
And then Punk beat Raven in their first match. They had a one-on-one match. And then they had a series of tag team matches where one of them, Raven even teamed with Colt Cabana. This is how Colt initially joined CM Punk by turning on Raven.
Okay.
And then Raven, they had a few more tag matches. One, it was Punk and Colt versus Raven and BJ Whitmer. Then it was Punk and Colt versus Raven and Christopher Daniels. And Punk won all of them. He even won the dog collar match, which I think you're about to reference. And that was a few months before this.
Yep.
But after the dog collar match, Raven and Tommy Dreamer kind of got their comeuppance a little bit on Punk. Handcuffed him to the top rope, poured beer down his throat. Yeah. So they kind of got their heat back in a sense. But Punk's been dominating Raven pretty much up until this point. But the main event of the show is the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match, which is kind of the Ambrose Asylum, if you're not familiar. It's a cage with a bunch of weapons strapped to it, basically. So that's the main event. And Punk is like, you know, I've always had X's on my hands, but today they're going to be covered in your blood.
And he did note something about, I'm going to nail you to that X tonight. I think might have been the last thing he said, which may or may not come into play later on.
Maybe a little foreshadowing.
Which I honestly had forgotten until I pulled up my notes and had written that down from the first promo. So I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Not to spoil anything here.
No spoilers. It's just a tease. We call that a tease in the business.
Yeah, we're good at that.
But then Colt's there. And Colt Cabana, the dynamics between him and Punk, which in hindsight it's funny, but
yes,
just to see them just being buddy.
A lot of very funny things in hindsight on this show.
Yes, very much. But Colt's typically like the comic relief, but he's like pretty serious as much as he can be, because he's in the Field of Honor tournament, which is how we kick off the show. So the Field of Honor, which I don't know how often they did this. This may have been the only year that, as far as I know, but it's basically a round robin. It's like a little mini G1 climax of sorts, where it's like a bunch of not mid-card guys, but guys that are like on the cusp of the main event, but need to like one extra push. So I guess, and I don't know if this leads to the pure title. I don't know. Do you know anything about this tournament?
No, I didn't know, but they did reference multiple times, like if winning this would elevate you to the main event type of thing. So, but I was unfamiliar with it before this show. So,
right, yeah, that's what. Because I try not to look too ahead, but I think this leads to the pure title. I could be wrong, but because they kept referencing pure wrestling, so that's But there's two blocks, and the first match is a Block B match. We got Colt Cabana versus Jimmy Rave. So, pretty good match here. I mean, the first thing I noted was the gear of Colt Cabana. He had like the long sleeve span, like I don't know,
Under Armour long sleeves with a singlet. Right. Yeah, he looked like a goof.
I was like, what the hell is going on? But after the match, he like reveals that he has like bumps on his chest.
Yeah,
does he have like a rash?
Yeah, I don't know what that was
herpes?
all about.
Don't know. But apparently doctors told him not to wrestle, but then he did. So
yeah, with his chest herpes. His
chest herpes.
Chirpies.
There we go. Little known. Very rare. But before the match...
the match starts. We get like a minute of some arm drags, and then all of a sudden, I think maybe they say like... sorry, I don't remember what they said, but...
Yeah, it was. They were as confused as we were.
They cut to some footage from earlier in the day, which appeared to be like an autograph signing with wrestlers, right?
Yeah, the Carnage crew was there. Some other guys were there, but also Homicide was there.
And Julius Smokes.
Oh, fucking Julius
Which, again,
Smokes.
I didn't know who he was until a little bit later when I looked him up. Again, I think I told you Homicide I didn't even recognize at first because, he's not someone I've seen a ton of, and when I have, it's been more recent shit, so I don't think I'd seen anything of him from this era. So that took me a minute. Nor did I know that this was indeed Trent Acid coming out of his wife.
See, I didn't realize that at first either, so I don't feel bad.
No, it was just like, I don't know what the hell is going on, but I'm riveted because... There was some very colorful language and then just some violence right in front of the fans, like literally inches from fans. Like a fan could have caught some fire there, but man, this was pretty insane.
Yeah, because I mean, this is so the Backseat Boys. I guess they arrived late at the arena, which the other wrestlers took umbrage to. But the Backseat Boys, of course, Trent Acid and Johnny Cashmere. They're like, we come when we want, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then Homicide, Julius Smokes, who were boys. They Homicide and Trent Acid have been feuding for a while. Fisticuffs start getting thrown. So my main thing with this is Julius Smokes is throwing punches, and the entire time he's fighting, it's just blah, 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 like as he's throwing punches. As he's getting punched, he's blah, 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 like, shut the fuck up. And then, like you said...
he's like, who wants some? Who wants some?
Every slur under the sun is getting thrown out there.
Gosh, yeah.
But very 2003, like you said. And
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Julius didn't really like this because he was all like,
Ain't nothing worse than a bitch ass wigger.
so it doesn't like the Wiggers, I guess.
I was
So,
just about to drop a bitch ass wigger line there. Yeah. That's
but
good.
a lot of F-ass ends, so to speak, from
Yes.
Homicide.
Yes, a lot of that. Yeah.
But back to the match, I guess, right?
Yeah. It just all of a sudden goes right back.
Right back to some collar and elbow tie-ups after
Yeah.
the bitch-ass Wiggers.
I will say this was my first Jimmy Rave match, and didn't he recently? He passed away within the last few
did.
years as well.
I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. But man, he was pretty good. You know, again, like a name I knew but had never seen, but was nice to see him, and yeah, I thought he was solid. And I didn't know. I guess he's the protege of AJ Styles. They mentioned, and then
I guess, yeah.
yeah. How about that?
Yeah, because that was one of the opening segments, too. It was like AJ and Jimmy Rave talking.
Yeah, that might have been like right after the match. Like, why didn't you do this? Or,
Yes.
hey, I'll teach you how to win type of thing. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if that's leading to a feud between the two or what. But
Yeah.
so we got a Field of Honor match here. And it's a fine match. I mean, you got the silliness from Colt early, as, per usual. He's like making fun of the crowd for the, how they'll be like, 1, 2, 2. And
Yeah.
Colt's like, oh, really? You guys can count? Which is
Yeah.
fun. 'Cause that always annoys me, too.
I agree.
Then you got, it's kind of a high fly match, weirdly. You
Yeah.
don't think of like high flying when you think of Colt Cabana, but I mean, they were flying all over the place. Some good chain wrestling. I thought it was a solid opener. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just rock solid. Nothing that'll light the world on fire, but a solid 3 1/4, 3.5 star match. Good way to start the action. I did like. I think it was shortly after the comeback from the insanity in the gym. Colt like baited Raven in some way, and he just like gave him the most simple just trip, and he just like face planted to the ground. I thought that was fun, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've got a handful of notes here, but there's nothing. Again, nothing. Oh, I have Colt goes for the worst Phoenix splash ever.
Yes.
And
And
then
it
was
was like
hit with a
like
running
leg drop,
knee.
kind of.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably the best spot. It was like he missed that, and then Jimmy Rave hit him with the Shining Wizard.
Yes.
But then ultimately, Colt wins with the Colt 45 double underhook backbreaker. Gets the win, and then like you said, AJ, he like berates Jimmy Rave backstage. He's like, "Why did you work the neck? You spent all
work the
the
neck.
match working the arm." But
Yep.
it's like, "Fuck you," I guess. But
Shit.
yeah. Anything else on that?
No, I guess just shameless plugging since I mentioned the Phoenix Splash that I have a new show called The Phoenix
There you
Splash. Talking specifically all about Japanese wrestling can be found on the Visionaries Global Media Network. There we go.
So you don't just talk about various Phoenix splashes and rank them. So Colt's Phoenix splash attempt isn't going to be on it.
If and when we do that, that might be at the bottom.
If it's on the list at all.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'll tell you,
But
you
no,
probably do it better.
nothing else. Yeah, it was solid.
Do you think Slick Wagner Brown can do a better Phoenix splash?
I bet he could. Man, that guy was a freak.
He is a big boy. He was like, he kind of reminded me of Apollo Crews in some ways.
Yeah.
It didn't really come to mind until he did like the class, like the military press into a moonsault deal. But he got like
Yeah.
a Slick Wagner Brown versus Diablo Santiago.
Yeah.
Of course, accompanied by his partner, Omen Tortuga.
Yeah,
Just
of course.
fucking love the 2003 indie names.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with any of these people, so when those guys came out, I'm like, is this the new Bariquas?
That's pretty much what they're going for,
Essentially,
I
yeah.
guess. You're not even familiar with April Hunter?
No, but I really enjoyed her work.
Man. Good work rate from this
Yeah,
April
well,
Hunter.
I did enjoy how she got in and out of the ring. That was unique.
Yes, how would you, of course, April is with Slick Wagner
Yeah,
Brown.
yeah.
How would you describe their method of getting into the ring?
Okay, so Slick, he gets up on the apron first, and like he's stepping in the ring, and then he basically like lays his full body back on the ropes, and April steps over him, straddling him, like she's gonna sit on his hog essentially, and then
Right.
she makes her way in the ring. But I'd never seen it before, and I enjoyed it.
is the innovation you're looking for with Ring of Honor.
Absolutely.
I like it. Well, Diablo Santiago, he's a part of the Outcast Killers tag team, which is essentially a jobber tag team. They're like the ring crew, but they're like looking for opportunities, so they keep getting matches where they get their asses kicked and stuff like that. And this is no different. I guess this is an attempt to build up Slick Wagner Brown. By the way, it's Slick SLYK for the folks at home.
You gotta love that. Yeah.
I had never heard of this guy. I don't know how long he sticks around or what happens with him, but he was fine, I guess. I mean, it was a big. I mean, especially like in 2003 Ring of Honor, like he was in shape, like he stood out amongst
great athlete,
all the other baggy pants wearing, shreds having indie guys.
Yeah.
He even starts the match after the dry humping entrance him and April made. Does like a little buckshot spear, like instead of a lariat, which I thought was pretty unique.
I wrote that as well. Big buckshot spear on Oman Tortuga. Exactly. Yes. And then what do we get? The Pearl Harbor job.
Yes.
Diablo
with those damn Puerto Ricans with their Pearl Harbors. You gotta love them. But Diablo Pearl Harbors them, as you mentioned. It gets a little offense in, but actually has some pretty, fun, like a little fisherman spinning suplex, a bridging follow-away slam by Diablo Santiago. But this is no match for the flying cock from Slick Wagner Brown. Commentary called it the butt. I have a question. If there was a guy throwing his cock at you, right? Like as an offensive maneuver, would you rather it be a big one or a small one? Because if it's a small one, you're probably getting more pelvis. But if it's a big one, that might be more cushion, but you also have a big old hog on your face.
Is he hard or soft?
Well, in this case of Slick Wagner Brown, who just got dry humped getting into the ring, he's at least half chub.
Yeah, I think I'd take small. I'd take the pelvis.
Yeah, that's fair, I think.
I don't know.
I would argue a hard cock is softer than a pelvis, but
you're probably right. But would you rather have a hard cock in the face or a hard pelvis in the face?
I'd prefer to have neither, personally.
Yeah, I was gonna say both.
I mean, when you have the pelvis in the face, you still have the perception because it's still gonna look like there's dick in your face.
Yeah,
so it's about the perception, not the physical. So we got the maneuvers to happen. Diablo Santiago's there, but Slick,
we're back,
pal. Pop-up powerbomb by Slick with a Y for the win. So good stuff, right? What'd you think about this whole deal?
Yeah, I mean, Slick, he was a freak athlete. Obviously, he must not have been very good at wrestling, or he would have stuck around somewhere longer. But he had some cool shit that he did. Just like the way he even got in the ring. He had like a reverse. Or no, okay, this was after the match. But I have reverse flip up to the top. I can't remember exactly what he did, but he had some crazy way of getting to the top rope. And then a huge missile drop kick where he got like a ton of hang time, and then a standing moonsault, like all in one fell swoop that was really good. So yeah, I was pretty impressed with that, but obviously, like, he was green and just like a really good athlete. But yeah, it was fine. And then after the match, I have April fucks up Tortuga after the match for coming on to her, and then I put she's bad, I like her.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite the reaction to getting hit on. She chopped him, gave him a second rope neck breaker. I was like, man. Yeah,
it was impressive.
Glad my wife doesn't know how to do that. Here, let me check. Let me see where Slick Wagner is. Let me see if he's still alive.
He is. I looked it up. I didn't write it down, but he was wrestling somewhere like last year, I think.
Wow, yeah. He's only 43. That's not super old. Jamaican. He's a Jamaican fella.
Hey, man. Yeah, TOS.
That was a good Jamaican accent.
It was test of strength wrestling.
Jesus, he has a lot of championships to his name. I mean, goddamn pal, the NWA New England Television Champion, the Millennium Federation. I mean, this guy's got it. So
he's a 3-time NECW heavyweight champion, 2-time 2CW heavyweight champion, 1-time DPW. What a stud.
You're just saying letters, I think. But
no, cagematch.net profile right here.
Okay. Cage Match wouldn't lie to you. Actually, you know what? Cage Match did lie in one match, but we'll get to it later.
Oh, yes, actually. Yeah, it did.
I was very confused the whole time watching it, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But before that, we got a 4-way scramble match, or a scramble tag team match. We got the Backseat Boys versus the Ring Crew Express versus the SAT versus Special K. This is a lot of indie shit just getting thrown at you all at once.
Yeah, I didn't know who any of these fucking people were either. So here were my initial reactions. Dunn and Marcos, jobbers.
Yep.
Special K, these guys are definitely on drugs. Correct. The SAT, fan faves, and I just put the Backseat Boys, fuck.
They do fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, of these teams, I would say they're definitely the stars of the show. Because yes, the Ring Crew Express, Dunn and Marcos, they are jobbers. So them and the Outcast Killers, who we just got done talking about, they kind of had like a mini feud because they're both on the Ring Crew, but they're like, no, we're the better Ring Crew team, like all that stuff.
You know, I kind of like that. If they said they were part of the Ring Crew, that went over my head, but that's kind of cool.
It was like commentary was like glazed over it, but
yeah.
SAT were great. They're still going at it today, but they're like one of the most innovative teams out there. Like the Spanish Fly, that was all them. Like everybody's doing the Spanish Fly now. And that was their whole deal. I don't think there was a one-man Spanish Fly in this match, but they did
a belly to belly, like a full belly to belly almost onto the outside.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then
it was awesome.
Special K, of course. I mean, they're all over the show. They're they're rich kids that do drugs is basically their thing.
Yeah,
there's like 28 of them, and of course
taking all their parents' money, spending it on drugs. The announcers fucking hated them.
They really don't like, because they don't abide by the code of honor. You see,
no, they don't. How could they? They're all fucked up.
Well, that's the thing. They can't help it. And then
I was a fan of them.
Dude, some of them are actually pretty good. I mean,
Izzy, that dude Izzy, I just put Izzy was just flying around and getting murdered all match, but he was great.
That's their like specialty. Is
the ranged was pretty tight.
Yes. And that's their whole thing too. Like if they botch these crazy moves they're doing, it's like, oh, we're on drugs. That's just what we do.
Deranged was in the match later, but yeah.
Yes. But these matches, these scramble matches are always just so hard to take notes on because there's just so much shit happening. Were there any, we just rattle off some spots that stuck? Because that's ultimately what this is. It's just a spot fest.
One that I had was Dunn hit at least what Shingo Takagi calls a no shigami, where you like have them up on the shoulders and just slam them back like face first. Right. There was hard impact there. There was like several moves in a row where it was just like very fast and very impactful.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, outside of that, I had the belly to belly / Spanish Fly is what I put. I guess it was a Spanish Fly, but
a lot of double team moves in this match.
Yeah.
The Carnage
BB's pin SAT after double team knee type move, and then I wrote "Go Trent!" ! So yeah, this was fun little spot fest of guys I'd never heard of. But so yeah, that made it fun because I got essentially what this was. Introduced to a bunch of new people.
Yeah, SAT. They did some like velocity stuff with WWE. I guess a lot of Reno Bar guys did.
Yeah,
but they're mostly indie guys. But
what years was that? Like the Sunday Night Heat of like the Ruthless Aggression era, basically.
Yeah, that was like the SmackDown Sunday Night Heat. It was Saturday, and I think Heat was Sunday. That went on for a while. It was like 02 to like 06 or something.
And that's like velocity. When I wasn't watching at the time. So yeah, I'm not really haven't seen much Velocity in my day. Is it even on Peacock?
Some of them are, not all of them, because I kind of was watching them like in order, like with my other timeline that I do, but they missed a bunch of episodes, and
But if you want to watch some Basham Brother matches, if you want a good old-fashioned 2-star Basham Brother match, Velocity's got you. Velocity's got you.
Love it.
But no Bashams here. But like you said, the back seats win after like it was like a double knee to the face. You know, there's some a lot of high impact moves in this match. Good double team.
Good action.
Just to give the crowd something spicy to watch after whatever the fuck the previous match was.
Hog flying.
But a couple of guys with big old hogs, I bet, are John Walters and Matt Striker.
And not the Matt Striker that I thought it was.
Correct. And that trips up everybody. It tripped me up the first time I saw him, but it is Matt Striker with a Y, who is a different fella. I would say
this guy from Cincinnati.
Yes. Well, there we go.
So yeah, I obviously looked him up, and I'm like, I feel like I'd heard years ago that there was a different Matt Striker, but it definitely didn't retain to me. And I'm like, oh shit, this guy's from Cincy. And then like BJ Whitmer, who's also from this area, and I'll talk more about that when we get to his match. But I guess these two had a match together on the previous show that they referenced.
I think so. Yeah.
Times. Yeah.
But yeah, these are two guys that kind of represent like the pure wrestling division. They're very like no nonsense, like not a lot of personality, but like they're good in the ring.
Good wrestlers,
yeah, for sure.
Good couple of good hands here.
Yeah, gotta love them. But Matt Striker, he had actually a pretty good run in early Ring of Honor. I guess he kind of faded off eventually, but I would describe him as a less captivating version of Bryan Danielson, basically.
That's fair. Yeah.
Because he was very good.
Yeah, I enjoyed his work, and I was surprised to see they popped up like the top 5 rankings, and he was number 4. Right. And again, not having heard of this guy, I'm like, oh, okay, he must be pretty legit.
Yeah. And then, but I thought the story they told in this match was solid. Like John Walters or Matt Striker works the leg of John Walters throughout the entire match. His finisher is like an Indian deathlock type of thing.
Yeah.
But Walters kind of fights back towards the end, hits like a Yakuza cutter, DDT, and a choke slam onto his knee, but it hurts his knee because it had been worked on the entire match.
That's MJF status right there. He just did that against Takeshita, actually. The power bomb on the knee, but
right. Yeah. Matt Striker goes to hit his Death Valley driver, but Walters counters and goes for a power bomb. But his leg gives out.
Tough break.
Tough break. He thought he could do it, but he could not. And then Matt Striker just lands on him. Pulls him up for the win. So solid finish there. Solid match. It didn't really give me full chubbed up, but it got my pants moving a little bit.
Yeah, I would say definitely the best wrestling match of the night thus far, no doubt about it. Just from a strict wrestling standpoint, and this was completely different than anything we'd seen. You know, the closest being the opener, but like you mentioned, that was more high flying. This was more grounded and technical. But yeah, Striker really owned him in the beginning, and I wasn't thinking the Danielson comparisons, but yeah, I mean, it did kind of remind you of like a poor man's Bryan Danielson out there, but it was good work for sure. But then Walters had that nice comeback. Crowd was getting hot.
It was his hometown, by the way, I believe. Walters.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was in Boston, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, very solid match. Although I'll admit I wasn't a big fan of Walters' promo after the match. I just put Walters was really proud of himself.
I couldn't really hear what he was saying. That's
the thing with those promos is the sound quality is so shitty. I don't really remember what he said either, but again, he was proud. He was just like, yeah, I may not have won, but I did it in my hometown, and I'm proud, and I'm going to do better next time. It was just like a classic dumb babyface promo.
Yeah, it was. Because, it was
like you said, these guys don't have a lot of charisma.
Right. Yeah. And it was Walter's hometown. So the crowd was like chanting bullshit after the fact. They're big John Walters fans. Who knew? Yeah. They had a whole section behind him. But I guess that was to like, no, guys, he's fine. Cheer for the babyface over here. Yeah. So it's like, whatever. But
good wrestling here.
Some good wrestling. Good grapples. Nothing wrong with that.
Little grapple fuck.
That's,
or as Bo likes to call a technical match like this. So instead of calling it like a flippy, For a high flyer, he'll call this a rolly. Match was real rolly, which I've grown to enjoy that term.
You know, I like that actually. This was a
like
very
Zack Sabre
match.
Jr., king of the rolly match. Yeah.
Literally about to say that. Yeah, he's very loves to roll, loves to grapple fuck. But speaking of grappling and fucking, we got Rob Feinstein backstage. And
the boss.
Homicide, he finds Rob Feinstein in catering. As we mentioned earlier, I believe, Rob was eating meatballs. They made it a point to mention that. And Homicide's like, because remember, they had the whole scuffle, the whole brouhaha beforehand.
Bitch ass wigger.
Yeah, I mean, because,
There's nothing worse than a bitch ass wigger!
Right, so.
Bitch ass wigger! God, that's so good.
It's something. It's something. But yeah, Hami has, because he was originally going to be in a number one contenders match later, but he's like, nah, that ain't important to me. I want Trent Acid.
Fuck
Give him to me. Give him to me. Give me
He's
what I want.
He's a bitch ass wigger!
I hope you just say that in your everyday life and everybody's like, what the hell?
I think I might. Funny enough, I had a note here that said whoever the boss is pretty tight, just eating grub.
Just chilling.
He was just chilling, man.
He stays
like,
chilling.
Okay, you want to get out of that match? You want this match? Okay, cool.
By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but his hair color changed a few times during this show. I think because there were like pre-tapes.
Yeah, the backstage one about like the investigation thing, which was very strange, and we'll get there. But yeah, his hair was like dark for that. Yeah, I did take note.
Well, we'll get to that, I guess. It's just the thread throughout the show, you know. It's what ties us all together. But speaking of things that are all throughout the show, we got more Special K.
The rave. It was so absurd.
They're because the ladies that are with Special K, they're like, why are we always wrestling? We want to go out. It's like, what'd you think this building was? Whatever.
They are wrestlers.
Yeah, so we got Special K. This time is represented by Angel Dust, Deranged, and Jay Lethal, also known as Hydro. It's like, among all of these guys, it's just hilarious how much Jay Lethal sticks out. Like how much he's like the wrestler and everybody else is like not that. I mean, Carnage Crew's actually pretty solid, but
he wasn't dressed like them either. I mean, he had just like those kind of camo-y khaki type pants on, but yeah, that was I didn't realize it till I'd known Jay Lethal had a different name, but it just didn't click with me when I saw Hydro. And even when he was in the ring initially, I didn't realize it was him until a few minutes into that match. And I shot you a DM. I'm like, holy shit, Jay Lethal was in Special K.
Yeah, you're not exactly looking for Jay Lethal amongst their music and the stupidity. I mean, it's just, but when you see him, it's like, oh yeah, it's because he doesn't look that different than he looks like now.
Just very young.
Right. It doesn't crack though. It doesn't crack.
No, it sure does not. No, it sure does not. Yeah, I even have here Logan Hydra start. Shit, that's Jay Lethal.
And all of a sudden you're invested in this match.
Oh, but even before that, no, I got invested because at the time I did not know I think it was Deranged at least. Like the Carnage Crew is coming out and he's like, I didn't know we were fighting. These guys, why are they here?
It's an impromptu match, don't you know?
Yeah.
Unadvertised. And
then someone said hugs for drugs, maybe him, I think. Right after that, yeah.
They're all hugging each other. It's fun.
And Becky's just fucking everyone, apparently.
Well, she's a slut. I don't know if commentary.
I heard.
I mean, even after the match, they're all like,
"Hey, look! They got that slut Becky on the outside, Chris."
Yep, I made note of that.
Just so like, whatever. Yeah, it's the slut. The slut over there. They got the slut over there. It's like it's the play-by-play of the match. It's whatever. But
and then Just Incredible kisses Becky during the match, and the
for no reason.
Like, that's like her 10th kiss tonight. And then the other guy says, yeah, he should probably go to the clinic after that.
What do you think of the commentary just overall on this show?
Hits and misses, I'd say.
Were there hits?
Were a few. Yeah, they're not very good, but like the slut, like calling her a slut, that's funny.
That is fun.
You know, there were like moments like that, and the clinic comment. So there were a few. Yeah, here's what I'd compare it to, because, and I'll put my boys over here, Gorilla Brain Wrestling Podcast, Year of Duke and Rogue, 2000 WCW. Shit, what was I even gonna say? What were we just talking about? I lost my train of thought as I'm putting these guys over.
The commentary comparing it to
Mark Madden.
Yeah.
So these guys reminded me of Mark Madden a little bit, just like loud and bumbling and saying a lot of dumb shit, and every once in a while something will land. That's kind of, even though like Madden was way more out there and more of a character than these two.
Right.
But in terms of like the things they said, I kind of got some similarities. But yeah, I'd never heard of these guys either. They sounded like backyard wrestling commentators, but yeah, they had a few moments, I'd say. But
well, one of them is Gabe Sapolsky, the owner or the booker.
Oh, was it?
Title is. Yeah, he went by an alias, but it was him.
Yeah, because I looked up the two names and I didn't recognize the names, but that's interesting. Okay.
But yeah, they're very Jerry Seinfeld-y.
Yeah, I could see that.
Once you hear that comparison, you'll hear nothing else other than Jerry Seinfeld.
And I like Seinfeld, but I get it for sure.
Do you like Friends?
No.
See, nobody likes both shows. It's either one or the other. I'm more of a Friends guy myself, but I hate Seinfeld.
Okay. I'm more of a Curb Your Enthusiasm guy. Like, that's probably my favorite comedy of all time.
I need to get into that. I keep meaning to, but then I just...
But if you don't like Seinfeld, I mean, it's different enough. Like, because it's just, I mean, Larry David just being an asshole, but he's usually right, but he's such an asshole that he can never get what he wants. That's kind of the crux of it.
I think it's Seinfeld himself that I don't like, is what turns me off of the show. So as long as he's not in it.
Well, no, you learn that. Well, so the character of George was based off of Larry David in real life, and you realize that from watching Curb, like the shit he does is finds himself in some George-like situations. But
interesting. Well, that'll be a whole separate podcast in itself, I think. But for now, we got the Carnage crew, of course, the team of DeVito, Loke, and Just Incredible. Old Just Incredible doing a 7 amigos in this match.
Yes. I just put a million vertical suplexes.
Lots of them. Some may say too much.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's, to each their own, I guess.
Yeah.
But so Slugger, by the way, is like the bodyguard of Special K. He's a big, tall gentleman.
Big boy.
He's a big boy. And he gets involved a few times in this match, which is confused. I guess the rules were relaxed a bit.
God, yeah. Very late on a pin breakup at one point. Like too late on a pin breakup at one point.
It's a wonder why we've never seen Slugger pop up anywhere.
I know. One line I enjoyed, actually two here by commentary I wrote down was, and I think I'm paraphrasing here, but Carnage crew likes to beat people up, get drunk, and go to the titty bar.
Oh man, they have ugly wives. They hate their jobs. That's their whole gimmick. So that's like kind of the thing here. They're like establishing a feud, I guess, because it's like the blue collar guys versus the young punk rich kids.
And that's what commentary was hitting on. Like, these kids don't know a days of hard work in their life. They spend all their parents' money on drugs. And then just a simple regarding deranged, one of them's like, what a jerk off this kid is.
They don't like him. They don't like him.
They don't. They sure don't. And right after that, sorry to cut you off, but my next note is very awesome flying head scissors by Deranged. Kind of whipped it around real quick before hitting it. That was awesome.
Yeah, these
Never
are probably
seen
the
anyone
best.
hit a head scissors or Hurricane Rana, whatever you want to call it, like that.
Right. Yeah, these are probably like the best members of Special K. These three: Angel Dust and Jay Lethal. Luck with them.
Pretty good match. I mean, all bullshit and things considered. Like, I was entertained.
Yeah, no, it was solid. It was like Carnage Crew is actually really good. I mean, they look like just a bunch of brawlers, which they are, but like even like their promos, which I don't think there were any on this show, but their promos are like a step above everybody else. Like when they talk, they really get over their characters well. And Special K, they're like dickheads, but it works to some extent. I guess.
Yeah, I dig it.
I got Loke. So at the beginning, like Loke is just doing a bunch of chain wrestling, which is like, man, that's not how I saw this match going.
It's not what we signed up for here.
He hits Angel Dust with a crazy like dead eye with a Hangman Page action, but it was like just a way more haphazard version of it. DeVito hits a power bomb on one of the Special K guys, but then Slugger breaks it up, kinda. He tries to, at least.
Yeah, I put broken up by Slug too late. And then he got the double drop kick by his own team. Yeah.
Yes, a little miscommunication action as Hydro and Deranged
Tough
go
break.
for a double missile drop kick. They hit Slugger, doesn't knock him down.
He's not been knocked off his feet yet in
not
Ring
once.
of Honor. Nope, not once.
Never gonna happen. Oh wait, here comes Just Incredible with a super kick, knocks him down.
Yep.
Super kick. The original Young Buck, Just Incredible,
yes.
as he's well known as. So Slugger's out, he's down, and as
boy Julius,
Slugger like collects himself on the outside, and Julius is like, "You gonna hang out with these dumbass fellas?" He didn't say fellas, but he was like, "You're gonna hang out with these guys," and he's like, "Rottweilers." I think
we Rottweilers.
I guess it's like a faction that becomes a thing, I guess. And Slugger is allegedly going to be a part of that, I guess. So that's a thing. And Carnage.
And then they all get hit. Then they all get hit by an angel dust moonsault right there.
Whew, yes.
And I wrote, so one of my buddies always calls, like, when someone hits a big move to the outside and they all fall, the domino. So I wrote moonsault into a huge domino, because I think there are like 8 people out there that all tumbled to the ground.
Oh yeah, all of Special K.
Yeah,
and,
and some of the Carnage crew, I feel.
Yeah, maybe
at least
maybe a few of them in there.
Well, Julius Smokes was down there. We know that he counts for 2.
Right. But then eventually, Just Incredible with a gnarly second rope tombstone pile driver off the second rope.
That was insane.
Whew, that was
they both bounced like 6 feet after that landing, it felt like.
Yeah, and it was like halfway across the ring. He just launched.
That was wild.
And that gets the win for the Carnage crew. And then DeVito just other Special K member
unloading them with a chair. He's just unloading chair shots.
Mass chair shots, just everybody. And
like The Rock on Mankind at Royal Rumble 99.
Right.
Just hammering them.
But on like 12 people, of course.
And not all to the head.
And then Becky Bayless is there. She didn't get hit with a chair.
That's
Hey, look! They got that slut Becky on the outside, Chris!
So they grab her, right? And then they're about to do a spike pile driver off the second rope, but then Just Incredible is like, nah, let's not do that.
Remember, I kissed her earlier. I want to fuck her, right?
Because she's.
But wait, no.
You know what sluts like? They like getting pile driven off the apron through tables. Yeah, tables. They give her the old. I associate it to Rhino. I felt like he used to do it a lot back in the day. The little pile driver off the apron, through the table, onto Becky Bayless,
onto that slut,
that dirty slut. So yeah,
fun stuff.
And then there more of this feud later in the show, of course.
Yes.
Well, now we got so that brings us to intermission. With Gary Michael Capetta backstage. GMC's the man. He's well, first of all, he's letting us know that both Low Key and Amazing Red are injured.
Yeah,
so they'll be out. Low Key had like a broken jaw, and Amazing Red had an injured knee, which they had been playing too in the shows before this. So I think he's going to be out for a while. I guess both of them probably are. But Amazing Red and AJ Styles were the tag team champions. So now they've been stripped of the titles, and there will be a tag team gauntlet match at the next show, Glory by Honor, to crown some new champions. And one of the teams in this gauntlet, the Briscoes.
The very young and youthful Briscoes here, baby.
Man, yeah, the singlets, the
teeth.
Marquette teeth. You even recognize them with the teeth.
That was like the first thing I noticed. I'm like, oh my god! And I've seen maybe 2007, 6, 5-ish. It was like the earliest I'd seen of them. So yeah, this was definitely the youngest. I think Mark was 18 and Jay 19 here.
Yep. Yeah. Like the first year of Ring of Honor, Mark couldn't even wrestle in Philadelphia because he wasn't old enough.
And I think they said this was what, his third or fourth singles match, right?
Yeah, I think Mark had only wrestled his brother, unless I'm forgetting one. But yeah, so he has a singles match coming up. So that's like kind of the running. So the show's called Beating the Odds, and we'll figure out why that is. But the Briscoes are, I guess they had been, because they're like literally like going into college, which is hilarious. So they're like, they didn't know whether they wanted to do wrestling full time or do college football. Yeah, exactly. So, but apparently they're now taking wrestling seriously. And then
thank God. I mean, for that we got to see them.
Yeah, they would have a little bit of success in the Ring of Honor, I would say, just a tad. But that brings us to Mark Briscoe versus BJ Whitmer, your boy,
my boy.
You big BJ Whitmer guy?
So I would dare I say he's a friend of mine now. I would say,
really.
Yeah, so he grew up in Northern Kentucky, like probably 15 minutes from where I did, but we met early last year just through a mutual connection. And we ended up like having lunch and just staying in touch. And he's now hooked me up with tickets to AEW shows, which has been very nice. And then when they were in Lexington recently, he moved to Portland or somewhere up there. But his sister still lives here. So we got together again a couple weeks ago for lunch. So, I'd say he's a friend. But he's been, not to get too off topic, but he's kind of been taking the reins of and I may have mentioned this Saturday night on Tim King After Dark to put that over. But he's been producing like all the women's stuff recently with Tony and Jamie and Saraya and Sheeta, like back to those matches. So got to give him a lot of credit for kind of turning that division around. He doesn't do any of Jade's stuff. He's made that known.
Is there any reason?
Billy Gunn is like her personal producer.
Interesting.
But it's been great getting to know him, and like we'll just text every now and then like, hey, that was a great show, and he'll tell me which match he produced, and just built a nice little relationship with the guy. And frankly had never seen much of his work before meeting him. Like I'd obviously heard of him, but not watching Ring of Honor a whole lot, and especially not the early days. And I know he then came back, but I've kind of just watched random shit before the last couple of years. But been nice to once I've gotten to know him, watch some of his shit. And this was a really good match. I very much enjoyed this, and I think to this point the match of the night.
BJ is great. I mean, he's coming off at this point off of a world title match against Samoa Joe, which he lost, of course. But
nice.
He's been.
How was it?
It was good. It was solid. Coming in the, I think he's also in the Field of Honor tournament. So,
well, this is a Field of Honor match, right?
I don't think this is.
Oh, really? Okay.
Unless cage matches lying to me, which they tend to do. But because I don't think Mark Briscoe's in it.
Okay, I knew BJ was, so maybe I was just thinking it was, but yeah.
But yeah, BJ's really solid. He's like, but then against Mark Briscoe, which, like you said, he's 18, and it's crazy how good he is. Like
I
already.
know. Yeah.
It's just insane. But it was a good match. BJ kind of dominates early. The commentary is really putting over how Mark Briscoe has no chance. I think they even mentioned is like, it's a little tune-up match for BJ Whitmer.
Yeah.
The Mark eventually they start brawling on the outside, which I guess is where his forte is. So he hits a suplex on the floor onto BJ, and then a shooting star press off the top to the floor onto him.
Which BJ told, because I texted him after watching this, he told me that's the first time Mark ever did that move.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a big base for him. So I can see that.
Yeah. But no, that was very, very impressive too, for an 18-year-old kid.
Fucking young, dumb, and a lot of semen in him. So,
and then he just started chucking him into all the barricades after that.
Dude, these barricades that Ring of Honor has. I don't know how much security they provide, but they are loud as fuck, and I love it.
They are. I think he threw him 3 or 4 times into the barricade. Yeah.
He was fed up, man. He'd been getting just chain wrestled for a few minutes, and then he's like, "Fuck this shit. I'm a chicken farmer or whatever." So, but in the ring, BJ hits a superplex, dragon suplex, I believe.
Yep.
Mark comes back at him with some like Uranagi. They kept calling it Uranagis, but it felt like
they
like
weren't. Like
like
T-bone suplex or something. Yeah, I wrote T-bone, not because Uranagi is like a rock bottom. These are they're like throwing him over the head.
Because he like started like a Uranagi, but yeah,
correct.
Like I just threw him over his head.
Yeah, these commentators suck.
Don't know nothing. Just dropping BJ on his head. Mark goes for a moonsault, but BJ gets out of the way, but Mark lands on his feet.
Yep.
BJ then hits the exploder, which is his finish, but only gets a 2 count. BJ goes up to the top. Then Mark runs up the ropes, hits him with another Uranagi, and gets the win.
Barely made it up there, though. Yeah. Holy shit.
a little slippery, those ropes, but he got just enough of them to.
I mean, yeah, like a quarter of an inch, and he does not make that move. Like, that was very impressive that he was able to get that done with just how he came up the rope.
And that being the finish, that would have been disastrous if you would have fucked that up.
Yeah, but not a fucking Uranagi, you dumb fucks.
It was a top rope Uranagi, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm glad you pointed that out because I actually didn't. I just called them T-bones in here because they weren't Uranagis.
Yeah, he just kind of chucked him. I don't even think he had any technique in mind. Let me grab this fella and just drop him on his head.
I have that it was a running, jumping belly to belly.
There we go.
I put. Yeah,
I'll accept that. An arm drag, perhaps.
Yeah.
But that gives Mark the win. He beats the odds.
He did beat the odds.
Beats the odds. Who would have known? Who would have thought?
Not me. Not me.
Thought it was just going to be a tune-up match.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, this was great. I mean, both guys were awesome. Like you said, BJ dominated the first half until Mark kind of like said, fuck it, and just started flying around like a maniac. And I thought the chemistry here was great. And just good stuff. Yeah, I loved this. Might be my favorite match of the show. Maybe I'm biased. That 4-way also was really, really good. So those would be my two favorites.
I might have a different take, but
Homicide and Trent. Yeah, I guess that was also really
that'd probably be my number one. Behind Slick Wagner Brown.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, really, those three all in a row were all great.
Yeah. Well, it's good that there's several options to be match of the night. It's, either equally good or equally
all
bad.
Were very different types of matches as well. This was, I don't want to call it purely technical, but kind of more of just like a standard wrestling match with some, some big spots. But then, obviously, Trent and Homicide is a little more personal, passionate.
I would say
some plunder is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes would say. And then obviously the 4-way is just an awesome 4-way. I mean, we'll get there. I'm jumping the gun.
You're just an eager beaver, aren't you?
I'm just excited.
We gotta talk about Rob Feinstein first.
Yeah, we do.
We gotta talk about him some more. Rob Feinstein wants to know who attacked Lucy. So a few shows ago,
I don't even know who Lucy is. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Oh my god, what's her fucking name?
Special investigative report.
She just passed away. What was her name?
Oh, did she?
Why am I blanking on her name? Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
Was it Daphne?
Daphne, yes, it's Daphne.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me fact check.
I only said that based on she passed away last year, I think, and she was in WCW in that 2000 time frame, so it makes sense that she would be
Daphne.
Okay. Who was she like in the story?
So she was
what's
aligned.
The significance here? Yeah.
She was aligned with CM Punk and Colt Cabana, I guess a second city saint of sorts, and who of course have been feuding with Raven. And they did a deal where Lucy basically was holding the camera for CM Punk as he was cutting a promo, and then they walk off, and then somebody attacks her from behind. Now you don't see this; it might not have actually been her holding the camera, but that was like what was getting presented. So she's not with the company. I don't know what the story is of her leaving the company or whatever, but basically somebody attacked her from behind. And they're trying to figure out who it is. But Rob Feinstein, they've hired all these investigators, and nobody has any leads on who attacked Lucy. So who else should we ask? Who better than the Ring of Honor faithful? Guys, I know you weren't here. I know you literally only see what we present to you.
But if you have any information on Lucy's whereabouts and the attacker, please reach out to Ring of Honor .com or whatever.
ROHwrestling.com. Give us who you think it is. What? What are we talking about?
So confused by this, but like also just geeking the fuck out because I'm like, this is one of the dumbest things. And then also knowing that he got stung himself years later.
Now, I mean, it could be one of two things. One, they're just trying to get traffic to their website.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, they're fishing for storyline ideas. Like fans are going to give them like options of like, oh, but the fucking John Cena or whoever is prominent at the time. But who knows? Maybe, but more to follow. I'll keep you abreast of the investigation as it moves along.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
So, but that brings us to probably my match of the night.
Yeah, this was really good.
We got old Trent Acid doing double duty apparently tonight versus Homicide, and cage match labeled this match. If Homicide loses, he'll never wrestle in ROH again.
I did notice that. Yeah.
So I didn't know if I just missed something because I didn't hear them allude to that at all.
No, they did not. They did not. So cage match lied twice. Well, I guess the 31 minutes in the main event isn't technically a lie because the original match was that long.
Are we sure though? Are we sure of that? Maybe
so
cage match just
according
got
to
it wrong.
Cage match. Well,
that's what I'm saying. Maybe they were like thinking of a different match.
According to commenters on Cage Match, on said match, there were people claiming that was the case. That's actually how I found out. So unless cagematch.net has moles commenting on their own matches to defend their time lengths, which would be pretty fucking wild. I'm going to guess that one is probably true, the 31 minutes. But if Homicide loses, he must leave Ring of Honor. Yeah, I did not hear them say anything about that, nor did the boss say it backstage when he requested the match. He just said you got to give Homicide volunteered his spot in that 4-way. Yeah, and then he's just like, you want the match? Yeah, you got the match. So is there something we need to reach out to Cage Match's representatives?
We got to get them on the horn.
I'm on their site. I'm on their site 20 times a day, so I should have some sort of fucking clout up there.
Maybe BJ knows somebody. Yeah. We got to get this going. But
very interesting.
So Homicide, Trent Acid. So their feud has kind of stretched beyond Ring of Honor. They've done some CZW stuff. They've done some Japan stuff.
Okay.
But I'm just watching the Ring of Honor stuff, and it hasn't really. It's just been. It's felt like just random matches, like not a lot of story behind it. But I'm sure if I would watch like the CZW or whatever the hell, it'd be more complete to me. But
well, at least we had the pre-show attack in the gym this time to at least build the heat for this from that bitch ass wigger.
Now that you mention it, that really is all the story that we need, I think.
Yeah.
Why
don't you play it for me?
I mean, the story of this match.
I've got a decent impression going, but it's still not as good as the original.
Say it one more time.
The bitch ass wigger.
Ain't nothing worse than a bitch ass wigger.
That's actually pretty good. I
got to get the bitch ass. I got the wigger down. But
right. Yeah. After we get done recording, I want you to look in the mirror for an hour and just say it over and over again.
Then I will start using it in my everyday life.
There we go. I'd probably stay away from the rest of the tirade, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. It was just so
shit. It was very vicious.
But speaking of vicious, Homicide's entrance. So who had the more awkwardly long introduction? Homicide or The Origin?
I don't even what happened here. I didn't take a note on it. I did watch this match pretty late at night. But
Homicide's theme song is "Rabbit Run" by Eminem, and the intro to the song is like at least a minute long, and the camera is just shot on like the curtain. So for the longest time, it's just nothing happening, and then there was just like,
Well, so two things here actually. One, yes. I loved when Trent came down. The the announcer said, and he claims to measure at 9.5 inches. That's some Jack Sexsmith stuff right there.
The half-inch counts.
Yes. And then I just put, he's so greasy, literally and figuratively, because he was just like dripping wet.
It's a shiny boy. Well, he had a match before, so
that's true. That's true. But then also, I believe, I don't know if it was after Homicide's entrance or before. Maybe that's why I got caught up here. But that was when they cut back to Raven again. And all he did, like early, had a bit of a promo, but not much of one, and said he was going to kill him. But this, I believe, all he said was, CM Punk, I'm going to kill you. And
dude, it was like so unnecessary because, like I said, we were building up to this match the whole show. Homicide comes out, Trent comes out, bell rings. Wait a minute.
Tonight, I am going to kill you.
All right, back to the match. So now we got
back to this blood grudge match here.
Wait, what do you think we forgot about that promo? Like, we'll get to it, guys. Whatever.
We opened the show with this. We didn't, and with such an accusation like that, we didn't forget.
No, that's not something you forget. That's not something you glaze over. But that being said, this match was really fun.
This was awesome. Yeah.
It was a lot of Yakuza kicks in this match. A lot of kicks to the face. I would say this is 90% Yakuza kick, but some fun. I mean, Trent Acid busts out an Asai moonsault into the crowd onto Homicide in the beginning, which is
that was some Kenny Omega shit right there.
Ooh, okay, I was gonna say
he did that in New Japan, like over that guardrail a couple of times, but
right.
More recency, familiar.
No, you're saying Kenny Omega owes all his success to Trent Acid. I'm with you.
That's a fact. Yes, I will not deny that.
Can't say that you're wrong there.
Yeah.
Homicide, he grabs a chair, sets it up on the outside, sits Trent on it, does his tope con hilo through the middle ropes onto the chair, but I think Trent gets out of the way, perhaps. I don't think it matters. I think everybody just, it's just chaos.
Yep.
Homicide, it's a Yakuza kick on the Trent, and then a face wash in the corner, which commentary really was like, oh my God, his eye. I guess Trent, his eye was bleeding. So I don't
bleeding right from the eye.
I don't know if he kicked his eye so hard that it was bleeding or if he just cut him right next to it. But it looked brutal, whatever it was.
And around this part, I have, Julius Smokes was just clowning with Cashmere on the outside.
Oh my God. This
Julius Smokes.
Blah.
He's so tight.
Wonder what he's doing. Let's get him on TV.
I would love to know, because that guy, he's a force of something. I'll tell you that. I don't know what.
It's becoming my new favorite segment on the show. Is the guy still alive? Julius Smokes. Well, he doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
I bet he's probably smoking something.
That's actually a very good
right now.
Well, it doesn't say. Doesn't give me anything. He's also known as J Train, also known as the Devil's Son-in-Law. So there's some information for you to accompany this match. But dude, this.
If anyone out there knows what Julius Smokes is up to now,
hey Julius, if you're listening,
you want to come on?
Send me an email. We'll make this happen. Man, that is a dream guest of mine now. Just to have Julius Smokes. Can you imagine?
And Homicide.
40-year-old Julius Smokes.
He's gonna be a bitch ass wigger.
I would definitely reference that to him. Yeah, I'm sure he remembers.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But how about this back seat driver onto this setup chair in the ring?
Yeah, that was nasty.
That was because I guess it's like a.
It was like face first, like he face planted that chair hard,
jaw
man.
first.
Yeah.
It was like I'm trying. How would you explain the iconoclasm? Is that what the move is? Where they're like sitting on the top rope and then they like flip him over into a slam, but he just kind of like tossed him and into the chair. Brutal. But then they just have a Yakuza kick battle where like Trent hits him and then Homicide hits him as he bounces off the ropes, and then Trent hits Homicide in the back of the head with one and then in the face, and then he pins him, and then it's a 1 count.
The kick outs at one back and forth.
Fucking spirit. And then Homicide hits him with it. It's a 2 count.
You're right. This was definitely better than the last match. I was just being biased.
It's okay. Well, when you describe it, when you yell what's happening in the match, it always appears more exciting.
Yeah. But no, this part really got my blood going into my
I just noticed your name is Flying Hog, by the way. It's fantastic. If you don't think that's going to be your name in the actual episode, you're dead wrong.
Good.
Trent hits Homicide with a rolling elbow and busts up his nose. So it's a really hard hitting match. Homicide hits a top rope ace crusher, goes for the pin, but Johnny Cashmere pulls out the ref.
And then Julius starts chasing.
Well, it's because he's a bitch ass wigger. So.
But then Trent fucking levels. I don't remember if he speared him or just kicked him, but he hammered.
It was
Julius.
another Yakuza kick, yeah.
Okay, yeah, of course.
But ultimately, Homicide hits the what I call the Gringo Killer, which it'll always be the Gringo Killer. Further, they were calling it the Kudo Driver at this point.
Yeah, I wasn't sure why. I hadn't heard that name.
It's had various names. The Cop Killer at one point.
Oh yeah.
It's a bit rough, but the Kudo Driver onto Trent for the win. So whether or not the stipulation was correct or not, he's not leaving Ring of Honor because he won this match. So Homicide wins, and hell of a match.
Yeah, it really was great. And as we went through it, I'm like, yeah, this was better. And it did have the story from earlier and the bitch ass wigger. God damn it.
I'm going to isolate you saying it somewhere and just use it. I don't know how I'll use it, but I'll use it.
Please. But yeah, this definitely lived up to all the shenanigans ahead of time, and definitely enjoyed Julius's antics and he and Cashmere running around out there. And yeah, Homicide was like chasing Cashmere at one point, and then he came in and he got Yakuza kicked by Trent as well.
Yakuza's for everybody, man. Indiscriminately.
Man. And then I put after Julius Smokes was just hooting and hollering after the win for whatever that is worth.
He's known for his hooting and also his hollering. Yeah, so can't be surprised by that. But yeah, Homicide's fucking great, man. I mean, 2003, he's so far definitely the MVP of this year. I mean, he's just
nice.
Seems
I
like
haven't
every
seen
show.
I haven't seen enough of his work, man. Like, I think didn't he beat Danielson for the Ring of Honor title?
I think so. I think so.
I've heard, I think
he
did, and I heard that was an awesome match.
Yeah, that's like, because I mean, I've seen his like LAX stuff in TNA and few things beyond that, but his stuff in Ring of Honor is like really, it's great. I mean, any Homicide match from 2003, he had a great match with CM Punk. He had a brutal match with Steve Corino at the last show. So
that's another guy I have seen almost next to nothing of, who I know is also big in this era, and I think did a lot of like street fights and shit like that.
Oh yeah, I think him and BJ had a street fight like kind of recently. It was like 2014 or something.
Yeah. I think it was like one of his last matches or something like that. But
shit, that's like 10 years ago. What am I talking about? Kind of recently. That still feels like 2 years ago.
Oh man.
Compared to this, I guess,
but he was New Japan's color commentator for their English for like a little less than a year.
Steve Corino was.
Yeah, and he did the first Omega Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 11. So that's how. I really enjoyed him as a color commentator. But I think, doesn't he work for WWE again, like at the Performance Center or something? Yeah,
he does. I think his son just got signed. I think.
Yeah,
right?
Colby, which I know those two had a match together last year somewhere on the Indies that was apparently really good that I didn't see, but
I imagine it would be. Yeah. Steve Corino, he actually commentated the first Ring of Honor show as well, and he was. I would like to think he's gotten better since then, but it was very like, oh, if you thought this was bumbly and high energy, it was way worse than the first show. But
I remember in that Omega Okada match, he was just so excited, which I loved. But there was one moment where Okada had a submission move that he doesn't do anymore, but it was called the Red Ink. And he had it on, and Corino was just so excited. And he's like, and I can't even remember the name of this move.
Yep. Nope. Never mind. He's the same.
But it's very entertaining, though.
Is the Red Ink better than the money clip?
Yes, because he wouldn't try to use it to win matches.
Okay. Thank God.
But that's the thing. Now he doesn't. Now the money clip is more of just like later in the match, wear you down. But I mean, that's Okada, not to get sidetracked, but like when he doesn't have the IWGP championship, he just gets bored and tries to do different things or just dyes his hair red and brings balloons to the ring.
That tends to happen. Like, wears pants.
Yeah, but that was a period. He's like, I'm better than everyone. I'm just gonna stop using my finisher and just try and beat everyone with this chokehold. So.
I guess you gotta switch it up. I mean, the money clip has nothing on the Lacey Evans Cobra Clutch, but that's another.
I mean, nothing does.
Nothing does. But maybe Christopher Daniels does.
Oh God!
I mean, he's not here.
This was a very long promo talking about his destiny. That's pretty much all I got. Christopher Daniels talking about destiny and looking like a priest.
He's the fallen angel.
I know.
Flying hog. But Daniel, I live for Daniel.
It was a good, it was a good promo. Don't get me wrong.
It's always like always starts like this. The prophecy of it's always the same shit. And it's just a lot of
I enjoyed it. It was just long, and I feel like he was saying the same shit the whole time.
Yeah, it's like because he's the number if you saw the top 5, he's the number 1 contender, and he's going to face Samoa Joe at the next show, and we're building to that. And it's like because they've been feuding for a long time in Ring of Honor, and they're finally like coming together to have a match. Because originally Samoa Joe was in the prophecy with Daniels. That's how he was introduced into Ring of Honor.
Oh.
He's like the hitman of sorts of that group, and then they broke up, and then Joe won the title, and it was a whole thing. But apparently Daniels is the ECWA champion.
Yeah, he's proud of that.
That's where he is. He's not on the show because he's defending that title. What are some of your favorite ECWA matches of all time?
I'd really have to dig through the archives for that one.
Just too many that come to mind, right?
Yeah. Daniel's in most of them, of course.
Right.
Being the legendary ECWA champ that he was.
I mean, who could forget?
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember who all did he wrestle there, like Shark Boy or
I think Shark Boy was there. Yeah. I'll tell you who was not.
Johnny Swinger.
All right, we got to talk about Samoa Joe's attire here. So we got I've been trying not to mention it. Well, we got the 4-way. So it's a number
fucking great.
It's a number 1 contendership 4-corner survival match. Chris Sabin versus AJ Styles versus Jay Briscoe versus Samoa Joe. And I know what you're thinking there at home. Well, Samoa Joe's the champion. Why is he in a number 1 contender match? And I had the same thought. But apparently if he wins, whoever he pins will never get a shot at his title as long as he's champion. So it's like, whatever. He's just there to kick ass, I guess. But
which he did in his great attire.
In a skirt.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe comes out wearing a skirt. So commentary was like, I heard the inside scoop is Samoa Joe. All of his attire is dirty. It's at the laundromat. He's literally wearing his normal tights underneath the skirt. Just take the fucking skirt off, Joe. What are we doing here? You're an island boy.
I'll admit I enjoyed it. I liked it because it was so different, and it was Samoa Joe. Your eye roll, you did not like it at all, did you?
Dude, the blonde hair, the puka shell necklace.
It was 2003, baby.
Oh man, I guess I didn't look that different. I did not wear skirts, but otherwise
it did look like he was just going to the pool in Hawaii, baby.
Brother, just chilling. Gonna have me a little 4-corner match and just hanging out with my wing out.
Eat some people up.
There we go. So but yeah, so
on paper, this was definitely the match I was most excited for coming in, just because of these 4 names. I mean, and it delivered, no doubt. Now that I think about it, I would probably say Homicide, Trent, then this, then Whitmer, Mark, in terms of like the order of my 3. I jumped the gun a little bit. As you said, I'm an excited boy today.
You are. You wouldn't have the main event in your top 3?
No.
Yeah. We'll get into that though.
It's this Ghost. Back to our sponsor, Ghost Energy. I finished.
There we go.
I'm buzzing all over the place here. Ooh, I don't have wings. I got.
What?
I got. It's like a semi-Julius.
So we got a 4-corner match here. And,
way to get us back on track.
It's my reset button.
Yeah.
So the match gets underway, and immediately commentary is like, Jay Briscoe has no shot in this match. It's like, okay.
The first fucking thing they said. Although I did note that I think it was like right after the bell rang, Joe and AJ faced off, And I think it was a fan is like, why the hell are you wearing a skirt?
Yeah.
You could hear it clear as day.
That's what we were all thinking after all. But yeah, Jay Briscoe.
That geeked me out big time.
Because Jay Briscoe has had a decent amount of single success at this point, because the first year it was basically just him because his brother couldn't wrestle. Yeah. So it's not like he was like a schlub. It's not like he's a fucking Ring Crew Express guy. He's Jay Briscoe.
But he's got no fucking chance here.
Like, he's had more success than Chris Sabin has at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's Chris Sabin here?
He's been wrestling for like a year at this point, Chris Sabin.
And he was the fill-in in this match, right?
Right.
When Homicide,
allegedly.
So yeah, that's a bit. I mean, you could tell at that point, and I knew Jay Briscoe won. They're really beating in that narrative of the beating the odds.
Do you think they named the show before or after the show happens?
Well, I mean, isn't it named before? Or like,
well, no, I think it's just like a show.
Okay, so this was not broadcasted live.
I don't think so. No, because it's like a DVD or VHS or whatever.
So when did they do like pay-per-views for the first time then?
I think that was a while down the line.
Really?
I think it was probably like 06, 07 maybe.
Okay. So then they did have that, I guess, opportunity to have the show and then name it. So, but if the commentators were already saying it.
Well, I think commentary was also done after the fact as well. So maybe the show happened.
Yes, they definitely did that then.
I didn't
think about that, but yeah, I mean, it was clear as day what was going. And Jay obviously took a lion's share of the beating. Like the whole middle 10 minutes of the match was just him getting his ass kicked by all three guys and being in a submission move forever. Hell, when Joe had that Boston Crab and then he just pulled it all the way back, that was pretty tight.
Oh god, yeah, Samoa Joe. This is my favorite era of Samoa Joe.
He was amazing, and I mean, he obviously AJ looked great too, but Samoa Joe, skirt and all, stood out above the rest.
It takes a man to wrestle in a skirt and still come off like a badass. So
with frosted tips as well.
Oh man, a lot of frosted tips. That's what the show should have been called, Frosted Tips.
No, it should have been called Bitch Ass Wigger!
Maybe the next show will be. We'll keep tabs on that. But fun match. I mean, it's kind of all over the place. I mean, towards the end, it all breaks down. I did like the spot where Joe was going to give Jay a face wash in the corner, but AJ's on the apron. He just clotheslines the shit out of him as he runs by him.
That was awesome, yeah.
That's kind of like, it felt to me like Joe and AJ were building into something throughout this match.
No doubt.
Because this is before all the TNA stuff, of course. So
like 2 years before that, right? Because these two and Daniels was like 05, and then I think Joe and AJ kind of spun off of that.
Right. Yeah. So a little foreshadowing there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed all their sequences together. I remember they had one on the outside at one point that was great as well. I have a ton of notes here that dude, I do have. Joe actually hit a Uranagi in this match. Remember, Jay was like running at him in the corner and he fucking caught him and boom,
classic spot.
That was awesome. Yeah. Well, that was towards the end. I mean, I'll just take us out
here. And we're done. No, we gotta.
We can. So Uranagi, big power bomb for 2 into the STF. And then AJ hit still does it today, the like inverted flip DDT where he catches you and brings you down. Jay with like a razor's edge essentially on Sabin.
Yeah.
More of like a toss, but rolling. Oh, then there was the rolling cradles from Joe and Jay Briscoe.
Cradle shock as well by Chris Sabin onto AJ.
That's right.
A lot of cradles.
And AJ slipped off the ropes, got the "you fucked up" chant.
Dude, yeah, he was going for a spiral tap, I guess, but like slipped. I could see this went up the ropes too fast, but he like turned it into like a Harlem Hangover type of deal where it was like a flip into a leg drop.
Yeah, so like it kind of worked, but
it looked brutal. It looked like it hurt the man he was landing on.
I think it was Sabin, yeah. And then he hit the Styles Clash on Sabin. Jay broke it up, and then there was like a lot of pin breakups, and then Jay ended up hitting the Jay Driller on Sabin, and I remember the image of Samoa Joe like jumping to try and break it up and couldn't quite get there, which obviously in a match like this, there were a lot of near falls and pin breakups down the stretch, but I thought this was well done and well executed, and obviously getting the sympathy built for Jay Briscoe for the majority of the match. But this was really, really good.
Yeah, no, it was really fun match. I mean, you look at the names, you know it's going to be a good match.
Yeah.
And like you said, Jay Briscoe hits the Jay Driller on Saban for the win. As this is like after AJ and Joe take each other out with like enziguris at the same time, and it led to
that
the
was
finish.
sweet.
So I liked how it kind of came to an end there. But yeah, Jay Briscoe beats the odds.
Woo!
Beats the odds.
Insurmountable odds. I mean, he had no chance.
No chance.
None whatsoever.
A tune-up match, I would dare say, for the rest of the
for Samoa Joe.
But yeah, I guess we're getting Jay Briscoe versus Samoa Joe at a later date. I think it said it was going to be like the following month.
Big night for the Briscoes here, which warmed my heart a little bit. You know, obviously with Jay's passing recently, but it was good to see the young and youthful Briscoes having a big night here early in their careers.
Yeah, I had the same thought. It's like, I mean, I always enjoyed the Briscoes, but now especially like cherish what they did in the early days because they were right from day one. They were fucking awesome. So
yeah, and were seemingly, I mean, not seemingly, just themselves. You know, like even here when they weren't the gimmick that they kind of became, which was still themselves, but like they were a much more toned back version. But like they still talked exactly the same and like had that gumption, for lack of a better term. I don't know. They just seemed intimidating and just like badasses and cool guys. And yeah, they're great.
Yeah, you could tell like it was like the same charisma. It was just like turned down a little bit from like what it would end up being.
Correct.
But you could like see it like inside.
Absolutely.
Needed to figure out how to get it across, but by golly, they would figure it out. So we are almost at the main event, which is a cage match, but they need to take a minute to set up the cage. And how else do you fill up that time than a Just Incredible Q&A session? What, you got a problem with Just Incredible?
No, I just thought this was so random yet again. Well, with our boy GMC.
Oh, yes, of course. The audience, they're asking questions to Justin. I can only make out a few of them. The one I did make out, one of the fans asked Justin, "Did Brett fuck Sonny?"
So I couldn't tell who he asked. Fuck Sonny. I didn't realize he was talking about me. Ain't nothing worse than a bitch ass wiggle. I deserve that.
You were winding up this whole show for that, weren't you?
No. I honestly, till this moment, did not know that they said Brett. I couldn't make it out because the audio was so shitty. So
I assume they did because that was the whole like Sunny Days promo and stuff.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Because, you know, Aldo Montoya, his previous gimmick, he was in the midst of that new generation Attitude Era stuff. So
fuck, I forgot that was him.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah.
It sure was. I think he was like almost a member of the clique. I don't know if he was like an official member or if he just carried their bags, but
yeah.
Who knows?
But Just Incredible said, "Yep." And the fans went nuts. And then he's like, "I don't know. I'm just giving you what you want to hear."
Well, Special K didn't take too kindly to this, I guess, because they attack him afterwards, furthering that feud between the rich kids and the blue collar, what they call them, the blue collar. There was something. I don't know.
They love getting drunk and titties.
That's who doesn't?
No, exactly.
I mean, we'll see. Punk probably doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, he's in the main event, and the Clockwork Orange House of Fun steel cage match, CM Punk versus Raven. So we kind of went over the build up to this, their feud up to this point earlier, and this is. I thought this was the blow off. I don't know if it is. I don't know if they have any other matches after this.
I think there was one more listed on Cage Match from like maybe November, something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't see if there was a stipulation or anything, but I would assume, given it was Dog Collar and Clockwork Orange Funhouse, which I feel like, did one of those happen in Impact recently? I mean, I should know. I watch Impact pretty regularly.
Possibly.
And like Raven has appeared a couple. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was on commentary. It was Sami Callihan and Eric Young before Eric Young departed, or before he got murdered, rather. Did you?
Right. Well, he departed Earth, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Before Diener actually killed Eric Young, not just like Raven's threats in this, because he doesn't.
Yeah.
But Eric Young is no longer a part of this earth. I watched it on television. Diener killed him in prison. It was amazing. But yes, there was a Clockwork Orange House of Fun, and I'm pretty sure that was it. And Raven was on commentary.
That would make sense.
I was just working through that myself there, but yeah.
Didn't Raven get like inducted into their Hall of Fame recently?
He did. So he's like had a few random appearances because of that. So, but yeah, they mentioned how he invented this match, and
they had because Raven's earlier run in TNA, he had at least a few Clockwork Orange House of Fun matches. One with X-Pac that was actually really good. That's like a hidden gem of a match. I'm sure he's had a few others too.
There was they had a name in WCW. He wrestled DDP. I think it was like Slamboree 98, and it was like the same type of match. They called it the Bowery Brawl or something like that. Something because he was billed as being from the Bowery in New York.
What is a Bowery?
It's a neighborhood in New York, at least as far as I know that. My buddy it's like I doubt that's it though, because it's like Lower East Side Manhattan and it's kind of like a hip neighborhood.
I always thought it was like the bowels, the bowels of, I don't know.
Maybe he's from maybe it's the bowels of the Bowery.
Oh.
So like the seediest corners of the Bowery.
I could see that.
I know this also. My buddy lived near it, and there's like a famous, for lack of a better term, music venue called the Bowery Ballroom that like a lot of bands play and whatnot. But yeah, while we're continuing, I'm gonna look that up because I know it was the same type of match. Cage, all sorts of weapons. I think there was a kitchen sink, like they like to throw that in from time to time. Hey, he's throwing everything but the kitchen sink. Oh wait, no, there's a kitchen sink too. Like you gotta love that.
But Jim Cornette just make an appearance?
I guess so. Okay, yeah, I was right. Slamboree 98, Bowery Death Cage match.
Well, there's no alliteration at all there. That's less fun. No. It's not like the Ambrose Asylum or something,
No.
That was some good fun. 69?
Wasn't that the match where Jericho got 69 tacks in him?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
And then he made that a whole point. 69 tacks!
Oh, okay.
I remember the match wasn't that great, but there was good stuff surrounding it. Like Mitch, the potted plant.
Who could forget? Rest in peace. Gone, but not forgotten, Mitch.
Funny enough, in that era, when I started using a little more potted plants myself. So we
big botanist, are you?
We used to term that getting mitched. It's like, you want to get mitched, dude?
Do you still use that? Do you still throw that around?
No, but
it became less cool over
yeah,
time.
Well, it was definitely an era thing. But my one buddy who got a kick out of it, he moved away and recently moved back. So I'll have to bring it up to him. I'm sure he'll get a kick out of it. But let's talk about this fucking match. I've taken us away a million times.
I prefer to talk about Mitch, honestly.
Yeah. I actually didn't make any notes for this match because I watched it this morning and I knew it was going to be short compared to what I thought it was going to be. But it was cool. It was fine for the 12 minutes we saw. I mean, clearly we got to see the best 12 minutes.
Right, which is interesting because I didn't realize that until you brought it up. But yeah, that makes sense because like you said, it was 12 minutes of action.
Of 31. So less than half of the match.
I mean, CM Punk gets busted open pretty much right away, gets raked across the cage. I mean, it's for what it is. I mean, there's chains, the dog collar, which is homage to the previous match, handcuffs. Raven gets cuffed to the top rope at one point, and then Punk just bumps and feeds to him like as he's handcuffed to the rope. So Raven will punch him, Punk will get knocked down, and just come back like over and over again.
Yeah.
Even hitting him with like the knee lifts and stuff. It's like, come on, Punk. Like,
let's do something different here.
Reevaluate your strategy here. It ain't working.
I'll admit that did cause me to tune out slightly there.
It just went on forever, and then
I know
Punk had the key to the handcuffs.
Yeah,
Raven hits him, and then it falls at his feet, and he's like, "Oh, now I'm out." Then Raven hits the Raven effect. I guess this is probably where because it goes right to like the ending stretch here. I mean, just like trash cans and whatever the fuck, it's just plunder. Getting raked across the cage. So it's what it is. It's fine. But I did like kind of tune out a little bit.
Yeah.
Colt Cabana gets involved at one point as Raven. He hits the Raven effect. He pins Punk and then Colt breaks it up by throwing a chair at the ref, which is hilarious.
I did enjoy that. Yeah, that was awesome.
Just came out of frame. You just see this chair flying at the ref. He closes the door on Raven's face. And then Raven and Punk, they like start both climbing to the top of the cage. They fight up top. Raven knocks Punk off the top through a table, which sounds devastating, but it kind of in the moment it was like, okay, this is another spot.
Yeah.
And then Raven wins with the Raven effect off the top rope through another table, and gets his win. Finally beats Punk, but the goddamn lights go out. The lights come back on, and Raven is being crucified on an X.
Just like CM Punk said he would be.
Man, we didn't listen to him. So he's being crucified here, I guess.
And we shouldn't have listened to Raven because he didn't kill him at all.
Dude, he's so alive, CM Punk.
Yeah.
He couldn't be more alive.
To this day, yeah.
I mean, gee whiz.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't.
And that's why he got crucified.
Yeah. So, and commentary's putting this over like, yeah, Raven won the battle, but Punk won the war. It's like, what?
Yeah.
How? Like, because he stuck him to an X? Like, I don't. It didn't seem like as dire as it was humanly meant out to be, but I guess this continues. Hopefully it continues, because if this is how it ends, I would say this is a dud of an ending. But
how was the dog collar match?
Dog collar match was good. It was good. It was almost like the pre-match or the post-match stuff was almost the more like engaging part of it. But the match itself was fun too. I would say it's definitely better in this match.
What happened post-match?
So they kind of alluded to it on this show. There was Tommy Dreamer made an appearance. They basically,
I do remember them saying something about that. Is that when they poured beer down his mouth and what? Okay, because he said that in the opening promo. All right, I got
right.
You.
There might have been other stuff I forget, but it was a fun watch. I definitely recommend it. But
yeah,
and then it cuts to a Joe promo talking about Destiny some more because we needed some more of that. Because
we did.
Him and Daniels are fighting at the next show, and then that brings old Beating the Odds to a close. Any other thoughts? Any other queries about this show?
It was a good time. I watched it in 3 segments, actually.
I think I did too, yeah.
First hour, and then everything but the main event, and then just the main event this morning. But very enjoyable. Like I said, definitely met expectations. I would say maybe over-delivered slightly, just because, and there was nothing on this card that was bad.
Right.
I don't think so. Like, even the Slick Wagner Brown, which I would say is the weakest match,
it was like a squash, though. So
yeah, it had its entertaining stuff. We got to see Hottie April straddling and doing her thing on what's his name, Diego or Tortuga? Yeah, Oman Tortuga. Yeah,
right.
But yeah, all those matches, the special Ks, they were kind of a mess, but they were fun. And yeah, like I said, a lot of characters and wrestlers I was never familiar with that I'm happy I got familiar with. So that's what I'm glad the Apron bump has done for me. I've gotten to watch early Ring of Honor and Progress Chapter 23 and gotten exposed and introduced to a lot of wrestlers I'd never seen. And by golly, I've seen a lot of them over the years.
By golly. I know you're a connoisseur of all sorts of wrestling, so you're a good go-to for these wacky shows. But
yeah, it's great. Yeah, thanks again for having me. I'm always down.
Of course, man. But hey,
yeah,
if you listening, if you're a big fan of Brainbusters and Phoenix Splashes
and boys,
if you love boys as much as Rob Feinstein does, I suggest you check out the Brainbuster Boys podcast. Where can everybody find you, Brett?
Yes, on Twitter and Instagram at Brainbuster Boys. We have our own podcast feed, plus we are under the Visionaries Global Media Network, all major podcast platforms. We all say that. I'm sure there's some that we're not on, but if you can't find us, that's on you.
Email them, give them a sternly worded email.
Yes,
threaten their family. Yes. What?
And then the Phoenix Splash is also on the Visionaries Global Media Network. That we just finished episode 3. But yeah, talking all Japanese wrestling, New Japan Stardom. Well, not all, but it is exclusively Japanese wrestling. New Japan Stardom, Noah, DDT, TJPW are the kind of the main 5. Yeah, that's been a blast. Brainbuster Boys, we just got episode 97, so we're coming up on 100 very soon, which it'll be for the Revolution show, will be our 100th, so that'll be cool.
Nice.
So we'll review that, and there'll, I'm sure, be much other hijinks and guests and whatnot. But yeah, and we're trying to up our YouTube presence because we've pretty much been audio only for, we've done a few videos, but we recently went live for an episode. So yeah, throw us a subscription and come on and hang out with the boys.
Is that how you?
I've never said that.
Hanging out with the boys.
Hang out with the boys.
That's some bitch ass wigger stuff.
I was just to say we're a couple of bitch ass wiggers.
Once again, thank you to Brady Boo Boo for the I don't know. Thank you to Brett from the Brain Buster Boys podcast for joining me on today's episode. Always an awesome time with Brett. Him and his co-host Bo do a great podcast, the Brain Buster Boys. Follow them on social media. Listen to them wherever you listen to podcasts. Do that for me as well. Why don't you? At Apron Bump on all social media. What else? I think that's all the plugs we got to do, huh? Yeah. I turn 30 tomorrow. It's depressing. Had a Hulk Hogan birthday party. We had like 30 people in our house, all dressed as different incarnations of Hulk Hogan. And I say that because there's literally fucking boa feathers all over the house still. They're just we vacuumed, of course, but like in the crevices of like wherever, like I'm looking outside, they're even in our backyard and our driveway. We're going to be seeing red and yellow for years, I think. But I hope you see more in red and yellow when you watch the Apron Bump next week, right? I'm hungry. Thank you guys for listening. I love you all. Appreciate you all. Godspeed. And praise Allah.
Yeah.
I'm hard.
The hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing I guess. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing I guess.